So dear students, we have finished essay 700 forming an opinion, 701 key audit matter, 705 modifications and 706 additionally communicating two paragraphs. Emphasis of matter para and other matter para. Now, coming to the next essay, second last essay in the series. One more essay is there after this. With that, 700 series is over. So now we are in essay 710. Now we are in essay 710. What essay 710 name is? Comparative information. Essay 710 name is Comparative Information. Hyphen. It can be corresponding figures. It can be corresponding figures or it can be comparative FS. Comparative financial statements. Now, while seeing the name itself, you will understand. In this essay, we are talking about comparative information. We are talking about comparative information, meaning some information which is given along with the current period FS, along with the current period FS for the purpose of comparison. So we are not dealing here in this essay 710, we are not dealing with current period figures and disclosures. It's not about current period, but about comparative information to compare the current period. So naturally, to compare current period, we are talking about prior period. So this essay is entirely with respect to prior period FS, prior period amounts and disclosures, which is given with the current period for comparison. So that prior period information is called as comparative information. Clear? Now, there are two approaches. First approach is called as corresponding figures. What we follow in our country. In India, we always follow corresponding figures. Whereas there is another approach also which is called as comparative FS. I know you didn't get clarity about that. We will come back. So I hope students you got a rough idea. Here we are not talking about current period. We are talking about comparative. Comparative means prior period amounts and disclosures. Clear? So I will give you examples. I will demonstrate how to report, how to go about the procedures once we finish off with the overview of the essay. Shall we go to the overview of the essay? Here. We have to basically study four things. What are those? First and the foremost thing, the name of the essay itself says the two approaches for comparative information. What are those two approaches? Here. What is corresponding figures? And what is the other one? Comparative FS. As usual, as an auditor, what is the objective of this particular essay? We can even say it as scope. How do you do it? Procedures. Or we can say it as the requirements. Auditor's procedures. Finally, come on students, this is 700 series. 700 series is for reporting. So finally, reporting considerations. Or reporting requirements, whatever it is. Okay. So first, we will be discussing what is exactly the corresponding figures, the first approach, and what is comparative FS, the second approach. As an auditor, what is my objective scope in this essay? How do I proceed? What is my procedure as such? Finally, 700 series, we will stop with what? Reporting requirements. Clear? So, shall we start? Come on. First, let me give you an example as such so that you will get more clarity. Tell me, students, one financial year which you are doing the audit. Say you are doing the audit of the year, financial year 2021. Okay. So this period, I will call it as current period. Current period. Okay. Now, if you have seen balance sheet, P&L account, etc., as per FRF requirements in India, as per our FRF requirements, say for example, schedule. Come on, students, financial statement should be prepared as per for a company as per Schedule 3. This we study in Company Audit, Section 129. So, financial statements of a company is prepared as per FRF. To be specific, as per Schedule 3. In Schedule 3, one column is given for what? Current period. Here. Whereas another column is mandatory with respect to prior period. So 2021, the prior period shall be 2019-20. This period, I am calling it as prior period. CP current period, PP prior period. As an auditor, you are doing the audit of 2021. But, your financial statements includes the prior period figures also. See, tell me whether this prior period figures 1920 are integral part or optional. This prior period amounts and disclosures, no? Like various amounts will be there in this particular column. This amounts and disclosures are integral part, integral part of current period or optional. Or integral part as per our FRF Schedule 3. One column is for current period, another column is mandatorily for prior period. So it's integral part of which period? Correct? Current period FS. Along with 2021 current period, 1920 should come. Why this prior period is included as an integral part of current period? Just to read the current period FS. What? To be read along with the current period FS. The main purpose of including this column, prior period, it is to read along with this year. Okay, current period, the inventory is 1 crore. So what is prior period inventory? 80 lakhs. So this 80 lakhs is to be read with 1 crore of current period. So the main objective of including prior period FS is to be read along with current period financial statements. Are we clear till that? Here, okay, in this example, we are doing the audit of 2021. Our opinion will refer to 2021, 1920 or both. Correct. We are the auditor of only current period. So our opinion will be only on which period? Current period FS. Or indirectly, will it refer to 1920? Will my opinion refer to 1920? No. Or it will not refer to prior period FS except in two cases. What? First case is prior period audit report. Which year audit report? Prior period's audit report contains other than unmodified. What is that? What is that? Assuming 1920 audit report, prior period audit report is containing other than unmodified opinion, meaning 1920 audit report is qualified adverse disclaimer. In such cases, this year closing balance, prior period closing balance, will be brought forward as opening balance. No. I should check whether the matter is resolved, at least in the opening balance of current period. If not, I have to analyze its impact in 2021, which is current period FS. So if prior period audit report is other than unmodified, meaning it is modified, then your opinion may also refer to prior period FS because its impact is there in the current period and it remains if unresolved. Or some kind of material misstatement in prior period, that is with respect to opening balance. Come on students, all these points we have studied in essay, initial audit engagement, opening balance, 510. So broadly in these two cases, even though you are the auditor of 2021, which is the current period, right? Your opinion may also refer to prior period FS. Now, since we referred to essay 510, 510 will mainly apply if audit is conducted by predecessor auditor. You remember 510, initial audit engagement, opening balance. It's an engagement in which either prior period FS is unaudited or audited by predecessor auditor. So, essay 510 will apply in two cases. One, unaudited. Two, prior period FS is audited by predecessor auditor. So, as an auditor of the current period, You are seeing prior period financial is not audited. None has done the audit. Or it has been audited by predecessor auditor, another auditor. In such cases, you will add OMP para as per SA 706. You will add other matter para as per SA 706. Why? To draw users' attention. You remember those words? To draw users' attention to the fact that either prior period financial is not audited, or you will say, come on, prior period financial is audited by predecessor auditor so and so. He has issued so and so opinion and his report was given on so and so date. So to draw users' attention, it is a matter other than those in FS, right? For that only you will include OMP. This is the procedure we usually do in our country, in India. This figures, 1920. Okay, prior period, all these things. That prior period figures, we call it as what? We call it as corresponding figures. In corresponding figures, our opinion will refer only to which year? Blindly, our opinion will refer only to current period, except in certain cases. Are you clear with my example? So, shall I recall my key words? We were talking about corresponding figures. Corresponding figures means the amounts and other disclosures of prior period that are included as an integral part of current period FS. What is its use? To be read along with current period financial statements. As an auditor, your opinion will refer only to current period FS, except in these two cases where predecessor auditor's report contains other than unmodified, or if some material misstatement is there in prior period, that is with respect to OB. So if it is a 510 applicable case where there is a predecessor auditor, or if prior period is unaudited, you will add what para? OMP to draw users' attention. This is what happens in India, corresponding figures. And this is as per the requirements of FRF. Schedule 3, one column current period, another column prior period. That prior period column is nothing but corresponding figures. Clear? See, students, one more thing let me say. I hope it's okay till now. Okay. So, lost my flow. I just said about what? Corresponding figures. Now, in essay's name, we were talking about another approach also. Yeah. This we were talking about corresponding figures. Next is with respect to comparative FS. Shall I give you an example? With those in mind, we'll go in essay. Okay. So, here also, in India, it's not required, okay? In some cases, as per the requirements of FRF or some legal requirements, etc., along with the current period FS, you will add prior period or prior periods FS. It can be one prior period or it can be more than one prior period also will be added. And as per the requirements of AFRF, you are doing this. Here, the auditor's opinion. Here, the auditor's opinion. We are the auditors of current period only. But auditor's opinion will refer to each period. You want that example? Wait. Assume, same example, you are doing the audit of financial year. We'll write it as current period. You are doing the audit of current period 2021. Assume along with 2021, one or two prior periods, say 2019-20, one more year, 2018-19. These two we call it as prior period. As per some requirements of FRF, this prior period are included with what? Current period. So here also we are talking about prior period FS. This prior period financial statements are called as what? Comparative FS. See students, these two columns, these two columns are called as comparative FS. Here. These two columns. So here also, comparative FS means it refers to what? Amounts and disclosures of which period? Prior period itself. But is it an integral part? Need not be. But these are included for what? Included with current period for the purpose of comparison. Some countries, they say that along with the current period, say 2 to 3 years of prior period should be included and all should be audited. What? What did I say? All the years should be audited. Meaning, even though here you are the auditor of current period, your opinion as an auditor, your opinion will refer to, is it only current period or each period? Correct. Opinion will refer to each period for which FSR prepared and presented. Meaning what? Your opinion will refer to 2021, 1920, 1819. I understood. What are you thinking? See students, you are thinking, no? Come on ma'am, 1920, 1819 is already audited. Audited in the last year, last year. Again an audit. Yes. If some kind of changes in opinion, in current period you are again doing the audit of prior period. If some changes in opinion, then the reasons for the same, the substantive reason, the full detailed reason for the same, substantive reason for the same should be documented under OMP, under other matter para. How your opinion on prior period changed? How my opinion on prior period changed? I'm the auditor of current period. Current period auditors about. Current period auditors opinion about. prior period changed from prior period audit reports opinion. Say students, last year it was done by CAX, these 2 years. Now here I am doing the audit CAY. How Y's opinion about prior period changed from X opinion? Now okay. That substantive reason, the complete reason, I should document it under OMP. Along with what? Full details. What? Prior period auditor's report, prior period auditor's name, what opinion he gave, and date on which it was given. And if it is unaudited, if last 2 years was not audited, that unaudited should be also included in OMP. So here, as an auditor, you are going to express opinion on each period as per this approach. As I said twice or thrice, in India, what we follow is corresponding. We don't follow this approach. But you should understand, essays are convergence. It's somewhat similar with international auditing standards. Okay. So, shall I recall? Here we were talking about the comparative FS. That also refers to amounts and disclosures of prior period that are included with current period for comparison. Here the opinion of auditor will refer to each period for which FS are prepared and presented. Any changes in opinion along with full reason should be documented under OMP. If it is unaudited, that fact also. Clear? So this approach is called as our second approach, comparative FS, and the first approach which we were talking, first example, that approach is called as the corresponding figures. See students, come on, very simple. Two approaches, corresponding figures, first approach, and second approach is comparative FS. Am I correct? This is first approach, this is second approach. Which approach? That depends upon the relevant AFRF, applicable financial reporting framework in that country. In India, we follow approach number 1. Now, in corresponding figures and comparative FS, both the cases we are talking about prior period FS. What is the change? Here, opinion is only about current period. Here, opinion is about each period. This prior period is an integral part. Here, prior period are given mainly for the purpose of comparison. Both these cases, if prior period is unaudited or if prior period audited by some other auditor, predecessor auditor, then requirements of essay, which essay, requirements of essay 510 will apply. So students, with this in mind, I'm going to the exact wordings of the essay. I hope you are clear. So we were dealing with essay 710. Essay 710, the name itself is talking about comparative information. Information not of current year but comparative. In that, we have two approaches, corresponding figures and comparative FS. Trust me, students, we have covered many things through those two examples. Kindly support me to write. I will put dash, okay? So first we will go to what is corresponding figures and what is comparative FS. You know everything. Come on. First one is first approach. What? What is corresponding figures? In our example, we have already said. Think of the example. Now support me. That prior period, integral part. Corresponding figures refers to amounts and other disclosures of which period? Amounts and disclosures of prior period, right, that are included as a dash part, that are included as an integral part of which period? Integral part of current period FS, and are intended to be read with which period? Read with current period FS. So the main intention of including the prior period is to be read with current period FS. This is the corresponding figures. Our first approach. Second approach is called as comparative financial statements. Correct? That is the second approach. Here also, last 2 to 3 years for the purpose of comparison. Here also the comparative FS, it refers to amounts and other disclosures of which period? Prior period. Okay. That are included for what? For comparison of which period? Current period FS. So these two corresponding figures, comparative FS, these two together you call it as comparative information. These two you call it as comparative information. Are we clear on that? It's just two approaches as I was telling you. Which approach to adopt? That depends upon the relevant FRF, applicable financial reporting framework. So students, in both these cases, we were talking about the prior period, which is included with the current period FS. Clear? Now we have finished with the first one, going with the second one. Objective or scope of this essay as such. First, I will say about the scope. This essay mainly deals with whose responsibility? Correct. Deals with auditor's responsibility regarding, look at the name of the essay, regarding what? Comparative information. So here we are not concerned about current period. Here we are concerned about comparative information. So deals with auditor's responsibility regarding comparative information. Okay, when in an audit of financial statements, while we conduct the audit of current period financial statements, when prior period FS are unaudited, you remember those two cases, or audited by, come on, another auditor, you call him as, correct, audited by predecessor auditor. When it is audited by predecessor auditor, in those two cases, requirements of SA 510 shall apply. You remember, right? We were saying very frequently, if it is unaudited or if it is audited by predecessor auditor, we will add a OMP para. You remember? So that is the main scope of the essay. Okay. Now to be more specific, what is my objective? As an auditor, what is your objective as per essay? Come on students, as per essay 710. Look, dear students, it can be comparative information, it can be corresponding figures depending upon the approach. Okay, but whatever approach it is, who is responsible to prepare? In our example, who is responsible to prepare prior period along with current period? Whatever approach be it, who's responsible to prepare prior period along with current period? It's a responsibility of management, right? As an auditor, what is my objective here? Very simple, 2 points. Your objective is twofold. What? To obtain. Come on, if you hear obtain, the word should come into your mind. To obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence whether what? Comparative information. It can be corresponding figures or comparative FS included in financial statements are included in financial means included along with current period are prepared and presented in all dash aspects. What aspects? In all material aspects as per. I said no. Whether it is corresponding or comparative, it is a requirements of AFRF. As an auditor, auditor shall report accordingly. Report accordingly. How? That I will come into detail, but still, if it is approach number one corresponding, your corresponding figures, your opinion will refer only to current period. If it is approach number 2, your opinion will refer to each period. This we will come back later. So as an auditor, your objective is so simple. 2 points. 1. Obtain evidence whether this comparative information is prepared by management as per the requirements of AFRF, applicable financial reporting framework, and you have to report accordingly. 700 series is for reporting. Students, lost my flow. First I was saying the first part, I was saying the definition of corresponding figures and comparative. In the next part, I said about the scope and objective. I hope you are clear. So shall we move on to auditor's procedure? Yeah. So the third part, okay, auditor's procedure. Students, as we discussed twice or thrice, prior period FS is comparative financial statements or corresponding figures. You want me to take that example again? Yeah. Look, this is comparative FS and this is corresponding figures. It can be comparative, it can be corresponding, whatever it is. As an auditor, shouldn't you evaluate whether this comparative information prepared by management agrees with the prior period FS? Even while doing articleship, you get that prior period column. Wouldn't you verify this prior period column of current year FS? No, this is current period financial statements. This prior period column, wouldn't you check with the prior period audited financial? Yes. And you will put a tick no. So as an auditor, here also I should compare and evaluate whether comparative information agrees with the amounts and disclosures of prior period. This 1920 plus 2021, they have included to read, or this they are included for the purpose of comparison. To compare, the basis should be same, or you have to evaluate whether what accounting policies are consistent. Accounting policies of current period as well as comparative. If not, changes are disclosed. I mean changes in policies. As an auditor, we are doing the audit of current period. While conducting the audit of current period, if you find some possible misstatements of prior period FS, you should perform audit procedure to evaluate its impact in current period. So while conducting the current period audit, if you find any misstatements with respect to prior period, you should perform additional audit procedure to analyze its impact in the current period FS. Finally, come on, obtain written representation from management with respect to prior period amounts. Ultimate responsibility of prior period is with the management. They have prepared, right? Simple, students. 4 points is my procedure. Come on. You will check the comparative information, that column with prior period FS. Policy is consistent. If any misstatement you find out, perform procedure. Finally, obtain written representation. Simple. How many points did I say? How many points? 4. Shall we? First point was what? First point. Evaluate whether what? Comparative information. It can be corresponding or comparative FS. Agrees with the prior period FS. Evaluate whether accounting policies of comparative information agrees with the current period FS. Comparative information means accounting policies of prior period agrees with the policies in the current period. If not, they are not in agreement, they are not consistent, then if not, whether the changes are properly disclosed. Disclosed as per FRF, your AS1. If auditor becomes aware, becomes aware of a material misstatement or possible misstatements in which figures? Correct. Prior period amounts. While we are conducting the audit of current period, if we become aware of a misstatement in prior period, perform additional audit procedure. Okay. To analyze what? Analyze its impact where? In current period FS. Get from management, no? What? Correct. Obtain written representation from management as per SA 580 with respect to prior period FS. That column is prepared and given by them. So as an auditor, I should obtain written representation from them. So we were discussing about auditor's procedure of SA 710. First one was to check whether comparative information agrees with the prior period FS. Second, accounting policies. Okay, whether accounting policies agrees, better to use consistent. Consistent with current period FS. Comparative information accounting policies consistent with current period FS. If not, changes are disclosed. In case of possible misstatement, perform additional audit procedure. Get in writing, no, what is this here? We are going to finish the essay. What? Reporting requirements. That also we have discussed. You want to see that? In the initial example, when I was saying, I was mentioning, no? In the first approach, your opinion will refer only to the current period FS. It will not refer to prior period except in two cases. But you will add a OMP para if it is unaudited or audited by predecessor. Whereas, in the second approach, comparative FS, your opinion will refer to each period. Again, you will add that OMP para. So that's it, students. Shall we write? Come on. Where are we? We are in the last part. Reporting requirements. Here, I'm dividing those two approaches. What is the reporting requirement in case of corresponding figures? And what is the reporting requirement in case of comparative FS? We'll discuss as two. Support me, I'll put dash. In case of corresponding figures, auditor's opinion shall refer only to dash period. Shall refer only to current period FS shall not refer to which period? Prior period FS except in shall not refer to prior period FS except in the following cases. You remember those two cases? 1. Prior period FS are unaudited. Prior period FS are unaudited, or OB contains any material misstatement, or prior period FS audit report contains other than dash opinion. Contains other than. What opinion? Correct. Other than unmodified opinion. Meaning it's a modified opinion. Qualified disclaimer adverse, and the issue is unresolved. Meaning prior period FS had some issue which is not yet resolved in current period. So as an auditor of current period, the issue is continuing. I should also mention. This was reporting requirements with respect to corresponding. What is with respect to comparative FS? Here, auditor's opinion shall refer to, you remember, each period for which FS are prepared and presented. Our opinion will refer to each period for which FS are prepared and presented. Okay. Now, differences in opinion. You remember current period auditor's opinion about prior period and prior period's audit report's opinion. So the differences in opinion. Substantive, the detailed reason shall be mentioned where? Mentioned in OMP. How the difference came, etc. will be mentioned under other matter para. Okay. So if current period auditor and prior period auditor are same, meaning you are the auditor of current period and you are the auditor of prior period and your opinion has differed, then requirement of SA 560 shall apply. Kindly recall 560. Subsequent events. Because of some matter, you have to revise the audit report, etc. Now, both these cases, I'm writing common. Both these cases, auditor shall include what? Auditor shall include dash para. You're right. Other matter para as per SA 706. When? If prior period FS is unaudited. Okay. Or if prior period is audited by, come on, audited by predecessor auditor. So here I will mention in OMP what? The fact that prior period is not audited. To draw users' attention to the fact that prior period is not audited. Here I will mention three things. what? First, details of predecessor auditor. The name of predecessor auditor. The main opinion of predecessor auditor. And the date of audit report. So the users will understand, no? Okay. This was the predecessor auditor. He had given this opinion and the date of report was this. So this is common for both the approach. To add that OMP para as per essay 706. This is your reporting requirements if it is corresponding figures, and this is your reporting requirement if it is comparative FS. I hope you are clear. So this we discussed was the third one, auditor's procedure, and this was with respect to reporting requirements. Don't confuse yourself, students. The approach which we follow in India is only corresponding figures. So if it was comparative FS as an auditor in your opinion para, I'm just saying if it was comparative FS in the opinion para, the third element, title, addressee, opinion. In that opinion para, you would have said that we have conducted the audit of 31st March 21, 31st March 20, 31st March 19. Like in our example, you were saying here. In our example, we were saying we have audited 3 years. Your opinion will refer to all the 3. It's not 3 separate reports. In one report, we will refer to each period. With that, we have completed essay 710. I hope you are clear. So, I'll show you few questions related to this, then we will wind up. Shall we? So, students, just very few questions just to, make the concept more stronger. Shall we do? First question. If client has disclosed comparative information, so essay 710, as per corresponding figure, our approach number 1, the auditor's opinion shall not refer to corresponding figure in any case. Is that right? We will refer to prior period in 2 cases, no? If prior period is unaudited or if OB contains material misstatements, or if predecessor auditor's report contains qualified adverse disclaimer. So statement number 1 appears to be false because they say in any case we don't refer. Usually we don't, but in exceptional cases of these 2, we will refer to prior period corresponding figures. Now, statement 2. In case of comparative financial statements, approach 2, auditor's opinion shall refer to each period for which FS are prepared and presented on which opinion is expressed. This statement appears to be true. Now, this is the options of the MCQ, okay? We said first statement is false, second statement is true. So, which is the answer? Answer is only statement 2 is true. Just to reinforce the logic of the essay. So that was the first question, okay? Second. If prior year's financial statement were audited by another auditor in our language we say it as predecessor auditor. Current year auditors shall, as per SA 710, state in OMP, as per SA 706, last year financial statement audited by predecessor, opinion expressed, date, all. Answer is very simple, all. So in the last part of essay, we said no. If it is unaudited or audited by predecessor auditor, we shall add a OMP para referring to predecessor auditor's name, the opinion which he gave, as well as the date of his report. Question number 3. Bigger question. Auditors report on prior period. 31st March 17 included a modified opinion on an unresolved matter. Okay. If such matter is not relevant or immaterial to the current period figures in which financial statement of 31st March 18, how should the auditors deal with this matter in auditor's report for 31st March 18? See, the matter for the current period, in the current period it is irrelevant, immaterial, but it was relevant in prior period FS, right? So that is why prior period they have given a modified. This matter is still, you saw this, unresolved, meaning it still affects the opening balance, which will affect current year closing balance. Even though in current year there is no relevance, opening balance misstatements is carried forward, no. So naturally the auditor of current period should also issue modified opinion since the effect or possible effects will remain in current period. You agree? This sentence we have written in essay. So shall we read the option? So bear in mind, we said a conclusion that current period auditor should also modify since it is what? Since it is unresolved. So option A, since the matter is not relevant material to current period, no reporting requirements you have. B, modified opinion on current period FS because effects or possible effects of unresolved matter on comparability of current period and corresponding period. This appears to be okay, but wait, we will read C and D. Considering the matter is not relevant material to current period, management may include a note in FS. See, including a note is not sufficient. Include an emphasis of matter para. See, as per essay 706, emphasis of matter para, we just studied. In circumstances where you should modify, UMP will not apply. So naturally the answer is B. So I hope you are clear with this example questions. Okay. So with that, we wind up essay 710. Shall we move on to the last essay in the series? With that, we will wind up 700 series. Okay, students.